Hello, this is our Sprint 2 demo for CS3312. This is version 0.02 of our project OpenEval. Other members of our group include Dennis, Mitchell, Joshua, David, and myself, Erica. To start, the overall goal of our Sprint 2 was to work on professor functionality. Now, professor functionality includes allowing professors to create surveys and also customize the settings, such as start and end time for those surveys. Now to start, I'll first show or explain the user stories we implemented in the sprint, and then that will be followed by a demo of those user stories. The first user story that we implemented was, as a professor, I want to create a class survey so that I may receive student feedback. The next user story we implemented was, as a professor, I want to designate a time window for which the survey can be completed so that I can control the duration that a survey is active. The third main user story that we implemented was, as a professor, I want to view what surveys are active so that I can see what feedback I can expect from students. Now, moving on to the demo, you can see that in this case, we are signed in as Professor Burdell, and once a professor is signed in, they will be able to see a list of courses that they teach. In this case, Professor Burdell teaches CS 1100. Now, when a professor wants to create a survey for a class, they will go to this screen and they will select what course they would like to create a survey for. In this case, we'll make one for CS 1100. They will then be forwarded to this screen in which they have the ability to create a default survey or a custom survey. A default survey comes with pre-populated questions that were given to us from the Office of Academic Effectiveness, and these are questions that they deem important enough to include in default surveys. So if a professor wants to create a default survey, they merely click on default survey, and they are then prompted to the default survey settings. Now, this is where professors have the option of setting the start and end time of a survey. Now, when they set the start and end time, they can choose to begin a survey a couple days in advance, as well as what time specifically during that day. So in this case, we'll just make the survey start today at 4:45 p.m. and they can choose to make the survey available for however long. Now, once the professor hits deploy, this survey will then become a survey for this course, and depending on the start and end time, will be made available to students in that specific course. If the professor does not hit deploy and instead hits the back button, this survey will not be a survey available for this course. Now, quickly, just to go back, you can see that currently for CS 1100, there is only one survey available, Test Survey 1. But if I quickly go back to default survey and I allow just some short time and hit deploy, you will now see that they were returned back to the CS 1100 page in which they can view the available surveys, and now you see the other survey that we created is available. Now later on, we will be adding the functionality of also being able to rename the survey. And one of our later user stories will also be the possibility of custom surveys. So that is where, instead of using default pre-populated questions, a professor is able to come up with their own questions that they are interested in learning more about from their students. Now, moving forward, our focus is going to be on the student user functionality, and that's going to have a focus on viewing available surveys as a student for the classes you are currently registered for, as well as being able to submit the surveys for that course. We have a meeting scheduled with our client in 2 weeks where we will discuss things further with them and finish outlining the details of our project. But for now, that is a demo of our Sprint 2. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to working on this project more.